Ja, herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Ausgabe des E-Talk und heute bei mir wieder ein Interview. Es ist ein Startinterview. Yukon Metals, Rory Quinn, CEO und Präsident bei mir. Gleich einmal vorab, es ist ein Conflict of Interest, was ich habe. Ich habe beim letzten Private Placement, also bei dem IPO-Placement eigentlich mitgemacht. Da hat es zwei Placements gegeben, einmal glaube ich mit 30 Cent, einmal mit 45 Cent. Momentan steht die Aktie bei 47 Cent und die Geschichte, wie es zu Yukon Metals gekommen ist, wird uns der Rory sicher auch dann noch einmal erzählen. Ich kenne ihn schon sehr lange, wirklich sehr lange. 15 Jahre mindestens, ne? Eher noch länger, eher fast 20, aber die Zeit vergeht so schnell. Rory, thank you for your time. And I say it in my German introduction, I have a conflict of interest. I'm a shareholder of the company. I come in with, I think it was an IPO placement, or I must say so. You have two placements there, 30 cents and 45 cents and so on. Now we are traded, I think, 47, 48 around. So,
In
and
around them.
yeah, and it's we know us for many years since yeah, long, really long.
That's right.
I don't want to go to details, then
We're
everybody
dating ourselves.
realize how old we are.
That's right. That's right.
So, but the first, before I go to the last press release from yesterday, maybe
Yep.
you can give us an idea how Yukon Metals really come to the world.
Yep.
I think it has a very interesting background. And the idea to Yukon Metals, what was really the idea to create Yukon Metals?
Yeah. Great, Joe. Thanks for the introduction. Yeah. So the project, the opportunity came to me from Keith Newmeyer, who I think your audience will know well. And Keith. In addition to obviously his success with First Majestic and other companies and founding multiple companies, he founded Snowline Gold, right? And he was part of he helped put that together with the Birdall family to form Snowline Gold out of the Birdall family's portfolio of projects, and so they floated the Birdall family their portfolio. They floated the gold primary assets as Snowline.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Snowline, of course, has now gone on to be tremendously successful. They launched with about a $30 million market cap, and they're trading at a $900 million market cap today. And gone from, I don't know, like 45 cents to I think $9 or something like that. So it's been wildly successful. And so it made sense at some point we would float the balance of the Birdall family portfolio, which is mostly copper, gold, silver, lead, zinc, and some critical metals, as Yukon Metals Corp. We have been pleasantly surprised, though, by the amount of gold and silver that we've been seeing. The news that we had yesterday, and we'll talk about Star River, really that's turned into a precious metal project there. It's a really bonanza grade gold and silver.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so to summarize, only short is Snowline was one part of the family, and it was only primarily the gold assets. So it was the Snowline Gold, and Yukon was formed as their base metals stuff. And so it is a sister company, I would say, from the idea, from this mindset, from Snowline Gold. And but yesterday you're coming up with the press release, and this was really very interesting, with really bonanza grade gold and silver grades. And so it's great you have base, or you're looking for base metal and find some precious metals. But maybe you can give us more insight what this really means. Then the reaction on the market, I must say, for this press release was not really that what I really expect. We are in very good environment. We have a gold price really high. Gold price performed very well. We have critical metals. As you say, China cut the support for some metals yesterday against US. it's an upcoming trade war. It looks like, and resources are really critical to them. Also for supplying the U.S. Industry. So and you're looking for also base metals, critical metals. But then the news coming up and the results, I must say, on the market for me, from my point of view, was really small. So, but maybe you can give us what are really the highlights from the press release yesterday.
So as you said, going into our work on Star River and expecting it to be a base metal project, but instead it's a precious metal project. By all the results, these are Hollywood problems to have. So it is now more of a precious metals asset with base metal credits. Yeah, so that has tended to be what's happened with our news releases, such as the one yesterday. So it's quite scientific, right? So you're talking about geophysics. It's over most people's heads, right? And so we try to explain it to all groups of investors. So analysts, geologists, the most technical, but then also regular investors, like we have. But it's still science. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it takes some explaining, like we're doing here today, right? It takes other folks, like sometimes Quinton Henney from Crescat, he will review these things and explain them. So what it really means to the investor and how it's going to make them money, right? So that's really how we need to explain it.
But this kind of studies are very important before you come in with a drill. The project, then it's give you more idea how really the formation or the resource looks like, or the geological structure of the project looks like, and you know then more how is the best way to drill and spend the money in the best way. And you're coming really up with high grade numbers like 101 gram of gold per ton, or 1,790 gram of silver. So a lot of numbers with over 1,000 gram silver, or really high grade of gold content. So
yeah,
but you make first electromagnetic, and then gravity normally, and then you send people in the field and pick some rocks, or what you're really doing in the past.
It was the opposite. So that was the first thing that we did at Star River, is we had a team of geologists on the ground. So at any one time, we had 3 geologists at Star River, and we had 3 physicists there too. But the geophysicists work; they have to do all of the work, and then it takes time to interpret it. So we had the sampling, the ground results first. So the first big one was almost 11,000 grams per ton silver. So that's almost 4 ounces per ton gold equivalent, right? And then we're seeing 1,000 gram per ton silver all over the place, hundreds of meters apart in different rock packages. And then we saw the gold occurring, sometimes overlapping with the silver, right? And up to, 101 gram per ton is very, very high. That's 3 ounces per ton gold equivalent. But we're seeing many results of 6, 7 grams per ton. So that was really the first thing that we had results on. And then, as you said, like, drilling is very expensive, right? We're well funded. We have $9 million in the bank, but you can spend that very quickly if you're not careful, and particularly if you're not very precise on where you should be drilling. So what we did is we triangulated really using the best tools. We triangulated where we want to start drilling with 15 to 20 drill holes. And so with the electromagnetic, from that you get a reading of the electromagnetic response, the conductivity, and so you get a good idea that there's metal there, right? But something, you could get a false reading by something like graphite. which is light. We, given all of the samples that we're seeing and the kind of rocks that I showed you in Frankfurt, they're very heavy. It's not graphite, right? But you can tell. But you want to make sure you're getting multiple readings. So then you'd come back. So we had this really big. And I mean, you can see it in our presentation and in our news release, really red and then white hot electromagnetic response. So you couldn't ask for a more a more obvious place to start drilling. But then we still hit that then with a gravity survey, which overlapped that electromagnetic response exactly. Right, it's right in the same place, and what the gravity shows you is the density in the ground. So you can have a good idea. It's silver, gold, lead, something dense, right? That it's not graphite. And we're seeing, so in the same place we see a gravity high, in the same place the electromagnetic high, in the same place we found 101 gram per ton gold and all of the 1,000 gram per ton silver. So that is all the evidence we need, right? So that is really the whole purpose of that, is to align everything, all of the stars align, and say drill here.
So, and this is now the next steps. So that you bring in a drill rig and drill out. You say you have multiple, so hundreds of samples of mode with 1,000 gram silver. And I'm quite sure Keith will love this example when you have a lot of silver there. But is this a valley type, or is this more so that it is a chance that it's coming down from the hills, or is it the original coming out from there, or is this what is, or is I must say, is it more float type of rock sample, more, or was more original type?
Good question. It's a mixture of both. So I don't know if we don't have hundreds of those samples, but we have many. That's the most common samples we have is a little bit below 1,000 gram per ton, a little bit over 1,000 gram per ton. We also have 4,000 gram per ton and 10,000 gram per ton, but and then smaller. But that is the most kind of the average of what we're sort of finding, right? Yes, so exactly. So it's in a valley. So our camp, it's actually almost ideal, right? Particularly for the Yukon. We have a road that goes all the way through the middle of the property, through a valley. And then to the north, there's quite a steep hill mountain, and it starts to outcrop as you get up the hill. That's where you can see the rock that you're looking for, like right at surface. And then to the south, it's the same. You walk up and there's some foliage, some bushes, some trees, and then you get up high enough and it's outcropping. So it's a mixture of both. So we've seen, I mean, the sample that I handed you in Frankfurt, I watched that being hacked out of the ground, right? So that's outcropping, and then some of it is float from that is gone from, there's obviously come from some of these outcrops, but yeah, there's enough outcropping there, and where we see the silver, which is housed in galena. Right, and then we see the gold, and sometimes in the same place, overlapping. I think I showed you a photo of these overlapping, and the gold is what was historically mined. You'll see adits, like holes in the hill, where old timers have historically mined this in like the 50s, 60s, and they did it with old-fashioned tools, like, because it's the gold rock it's highly oxidized arsenopyrite. So it crumbles in your hand, and so they were kind of drifting into the hill, digging into the hill after this gold. The silver is very dense, like you felt. It's very heavy and dense. It's got some lead in it, some silver, and that's really untouched. And that's what's so interesting about the electromagnetic and gravity work we did, because we know where there's gold and silver at surface, right? We know where it is at surface, and the electromagnetic and the gravity shows where it is at surface. And then, so when we look in the south and this underground area, and we have this huge reading, right? We have this very obvious gravity high and magnetic high underneath the ground, we're very confident that this is this has every potential to be dense, highly mineralized rock.
So, but my next question would be: Yukon is big, and Yukon can be also a problem with access and so on. But you say a road is running through your property, so access to this project is not really a problem.
No, it's 5 hours from Whitehorse. Right, I can take a 2-hour plane ride from Vancouver to Whitehorse. Very, very easy, nice plane ride. And then it's a 5-hour drive from the airport to site. And I stayed in a cabin an hour away. Is really nice cabin, and could get into site in the morning and back in the evening very easily. So, and importantly, that road is an all-weather road. It's kept plowed by the government year round. So it's possible that once we start drilling this season in spring, we can keep drilling for into the winter and maybe even through the winter, as long as we're getting the results that we want, right? And we're not, right, as long as it's not too costly, you're not losing drill bits or right. And so we're planning on building, we're currently working on permitting a 50-person camp, right? So a very meaningful camp there. And like I said, that stays, there's a there's a valley there where the road goes through. We'll have a camp right down by there. We have access to water, and so it's really almost ideal.
So, the next steps is permitting, and then next year drilling. Do you have already plans? How many meters do you want to drill? Or you say you start and then you will see how the results coming back, or how really maybe you're going and don't stop the drilling if the results are great enough, and the money is in the bank account, that's for sure. But when really can we expect that you start to drill? Is there already a plan which drill location you're going for, or is this all in progress?
So in the news release, where essentially I put a big black arrow, I think it's in figure 2 of the news release, if memory serves, and that's, I mean, that's really where X marks the spot, is there where we'll be drilling. And so we will plan out and budget out all of the meterage, but we just got these results and published them. We'll put in 15 to 20 holes where we show that big electromagnetic response overlapped, aligned with the gravity and all of the high-grade samples of gold and silver that we found. We'll put 15 to 20 holes in there. Of course, we have other targets there. We have targets in the north. There's another parallel 800-meter long structure there, gravity high, that is relatively underexplored. We only have a few samples from there, so we have that as a target as well. We'll take a look at all the meterage. We'll come back to and tell the market exactly how many meters we'll do. We'll budget it, but yeah, we're in a good position still with $8.5-9 million in the bank to be able to fund that.
But we must say this project is not the only project what you have in your portfolio. That's also a nice problem. So you have really exciting numbers so far for Pasteur River, but I'm now on the figure 5, where you have all your locations on it, and there you have really a lot of them. So it's tough. You really be focused on one particular project. So it's clear you have there are really great numbers, and for sure it's clear that you drill there. But what other project you're looking for or doing next year?
Yeah, no, good point. I mean, yeah, again, we have an embarrassment of riches, really being able to acquire all of these assets from a legendary prospecting family like the Birdalls and Ron Birdall. But we had to prioritize. When you had, even with $12 million in the bank to start the season, you can spend that pretty quickly if you try to spend it on 17 assets. So we focused on 5. We permitted 5, and so we had a very good time of permitting. Right, we permitted Star River, and we permitted Birch. So we did a lot of work on 2 assets, and we did some work on a third. So I've taken you through Star. Birch is we're really excited about too. Right, it doesn't have the same sort of bonanza grade gold and silver. Birch is copper gold asset. It was actually explored by Ryan Gold first. If you might know that name, Sean Ryan. He was a pretty big name in the Yukon there for a while, and he's still active now. But what he found there was a gold in soil anomaly. He was really looking for epithermal gold, and so he did a lot of ground truthing, soil sampling. So that was intriguing to us, the gold. But early on, we saw evidence that we thought this could be a copper porphyry with gold on top, not just epithermal gold. So we approached it like that. And also, we didn't get the certificates from that acquisition, so we needed to corroborate whatever data that we received from the Birdalls and from the legacy Sean Ryan work. And right away, so we saw the high grade gold.
But when you talk about high grade gold, what's been the high grade gold?
Yeah, I'll take you through that. So we did. I'll back up a little bit. So we hit that with soil sampling. We did a really large soil sampling program there, and what we did is we used a modern technique that designed for the Yukon, where we used a soil drill and we drilled down almost a meter into permafrost, so it's permanently frozen, and that gives you a very high quality sample, right? Because the stuff at surface you can get smearing, right, of that soil. It can go down the hill, right? It can be, and so here we're drilling right into the ground above the bedrock, but getting a very good sample. And so we developed by that is a 1,400 meter long, wide gold and copper in soil anomaly. So we saw gold results of up to 0.99 gram per ton gold in soil. Right. So I mean, there's companies that mine less than a gram per ton, right, and in rock, and we're seeing that in soil, and then over 0.2% copper again in soil. So really interesting numbers there. So very large footprint, and then through a sampling program, most of that is soil. Like I told you, it's mostly overburden. There's limited rock there, limited outcrop and subcrop or float. But when we did do some prospecting work there, we found 14 gram per ton gold and 2.4% copper, multiple samples of 2.4% copper. So what we demonstrated through the season is the potential for scale, right? Substantial size and grade. And so relative to our thesis that we think this is an intact gold-rich copper porphyry. And relative to that thesis, we found everything you would want to find to prove that thesis, right? I mean, so pathfinder elements, we saw the gold, the copper, and then to the south, significant molybdenum, which is exactly what you would expect to find. And so this will be the subject of drilling as well. And so relative to Star, we did the electromagnetic, the gravity, and the sampling. At Birch, we did this sampling, this soil sampling, rock sampling, and then we've done induced polarization, right? So so we still have that to report, and we'll do more. So that will give us more of an idea of the bedrock. So we'll use as much information as we can get to triangulate the best place to start drilling at Birch too. So I would suggest to start the season in spring, we'll work on having 2 drills spinning at Star River and 1 drill at Birch.
I switched to the presentation and was interesting. The presentation says 3 key properties: Birch, Star, AZ. Now it's more that you say the highest priority has Star and then Birch, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I mean, I think initially we had Birch into we had more information on Birch initially. I would say Star has tended to, particularly when we put those high grades out, right? I mean, as when we came out, like you said, we listed we raised at a combination of 30 to 45 cents, and just to backing up here a little, and so an average cost of 37 to 38 cents for folks that came into to the IPO. And then when that came free trading, and we were doing a bunch of this work, but we hadn't put results out yet. It came free trading after 4 months and traded down to 33 cents. And it was around that time, Victoria Gold, there was some questions about the Yukon, and so there was a bit of an overhang. But then when we put out the news of the 10,000 gram per ton silver, and then the 101 gram per ton gold, we traded up from 33 cents up to 50 cents on high volume. So a bunch of new shareholders came in, like significant volume, up to about 50 cents. And we've traded around there since, is 40 to 50 cents, 45 to 50 cents. So I think Star River and those high grade gold and silver numbers have excited the market, probably more than Birch. But internally, we're almost just as excited about the potential at Birch, right? And having the copper gold there, it's perhaps not as glitzy and glamoury as the other one, and maybe a little bit more difficult to understand too. But so yeah, Birch, that one is a fly-in. That will be a fly-in operation. We're permitting that. So we had both of these assets permitted before. We're working currently to permit those again. We have a good relationship with the First Nation at Birch and AZ, which I'll talk about in a little minute. That First Nation there is called the Kloani First Nation, and we've actually employed working with a group called Vision Quest, and they're Kloani owned and operated exploration company and outfitter. So they did our soil drilling, for us and with us at Birch. And on their traditional territory, right? And they built our camps at Star River and Birch, really like meaningful camp. So all season winterized camp at Star River. They did line cutting for us at Star River. So that's been a really good partnership for us. We've learned a lot through them. And I think they've been able to gain some technical expertise from our group as well, relative to soil sampling and soil drilling. And so we look forward to keep building that relationship with the Kloani. And so AZ is also in their traditional territory. That's 6 kilometers away from the Alaska Highway, very nicely situated, very large property. It's actually called AZ or AZ because Ron Birdall thought it had every commodity from A to Z on it. And so our first, I mean, I don't know if you're on the presentation, but our sort of first pass there that we did, we are finding the exact kind of rocks that you want to find: green stained malachite. And I mean, if you're used to seeing the copper buildings that end up turning green, it tends to be a pretty good sign. And then there's a bald spot on the mountain there we call Chair Mountain, and it's what's called a kill zone, in that there's so much metal in the ground that nothing can grow, right? And so that's called Chair Mountain. So this is another area that we are working to permit to drill next year as well. So the initial idea is have 2 drills, and at Star River, the nice thing there is we can bring those in from the road. Those will probably be on sleds, right? So larger equipment. At Birch will fly in a smaller, more nimble drill, and at AZ, I think there's the potential there to potentially, with the outfitter, the local outfitter there in Kloani First Nation territory, there's actually a trail from the Alaska Highway that potentially they could use to gain access to site, given that it's only 6 kilometers. So yeah, we'll also have another drill there.
Oh, yeah, it's interesting to say that there's so much metal in the ground, there's nothing can grow. Remember me on one project, what I am 15, 20 years ago, they have the same problem, and they found the project where they fly over through with a helicopter. And they see then an area where nothing grows. And they say, beside this jungle, here is nothing, so it must be something there. So it's interesting that it's still you can find some area where this happened, and this method is really working. So, but to summarize a little bit, so next year will be really busy. So you will start with star to drill, or it depends on the permitting side. Is for sure you need first permitting. Star, Birch, and AZ.
Yeah, no, exactly. So we were able to permit all 3 of those last season and a few others. So on a class 1 permit, you can drill, right? You can do up to 9 holes per claim. But really, what we're working on is called a class 3, and so we would work on that. We're working on that currently, and that enables you to have up to 50 people on camp instead of 12, right? So you can do really as much drilling as makes sense. And so we're working on that. We will get the class 1 first, and then work towards this class 3. And so we'll do that for Star River and Birch, working towards this class 3 permit where we can have this big significant camp. At AZ, we'll work on the class 1 permit. So we're very confident there. We've worked. We've been done our consultation, and so we're very deliberate there in making sure that we do all of the consultation with the communities, and that we that we make sure that we go through all of the steps correctly there. So really, those 3 assets are the lowest hanging fruit. Right, those are we know what we want to do there, but that's not it. We'll be working next season on other assets. There's an asset called Risby that we're really keen on. This has tungsten, but perhaps some gold intrusion as well. There's an asset called Talbot. So we're in an opportunity-rich environment. We have some very nice assets. So we have 3 that we're currently keen to drill, but we have others that will work to create value on as well.
But you must be focused, and as you say, 9 million sounds great, but you can spend it really fast if you do too much or diversify too many, and then maybe not too much results coming back that you can say, okay, I can going forward or to excite the market. I think it's always the problem, and this was the good thing on Snowline, coming back to your sister company. When you have a critical mass of positive results, I think then it's starting, and the people you get traction on it, and you have the right people there, and then it's starting from the people getting exciting, and then the share price going up, and by the share price going up, more people are interested in the stock, and this is always like the market works, and sometimes it's the problem that you not reach the critical mass of exciting information about the company.
Right.
So
I mean, that's what happened with Snowline. So sorry, Joe, I just wanted to jump in there. So, but that's what happened with Snowline. Snowline didn't put a drill hole into Valley for over a year. Right, like that was just a prospect. They had other assets they were keen on, but Valley has only been around for about 2.5 years of the 3.5 years that Snowline have been around. So they actually did the work first, a lot of the same work that we're doing to provide that target. So I would say Star River is that asset, right, where we're likely to see results that are quite interesting early on, where we get that critical mass of, and I think we'll be rewarded for all the hard work we did of targeting there.
That's exactly, and it's if the right environment there, so not only there, also on the market, then you get really the response for the results what you then create. So Roy, I think it was a really first good introduction to a company. We are now close to 35 minutes. It's a little bit long, but you have a lot of projects. You have a lot of really interesting stuff there. So I think it's was very informative that we get all this information from you and bring us a little bit better. What we maybe look next year on the results, what you bring it up. So one last question before I make my German summary. You say that you wait still for some results at Star River, is this right? So for the electromagnetic or something? Or was it something?
Yeah, we might come out with a bit more news at Star, but I think you might be referring to the induced polarization
That's
at
right.
Birch.
At Birch.
Yeah, so
yeah,
that
that's
we
right. Birch.
yeah.
Birch. That
So
was
that I think is important. That will be interesting as well, right? Because we've given the market a good idea of what's on surface of or a meter deep. This will show deeper, right? So I think that will be important news as well. But yeah, I mean, I think we accomplished a great deal this season. Really, almost only half a season. We spent about $2 million, and I think we are already a 2-asset company that there's going to have meaningful drill programs on 2 assets in spring.
And spring mean March, April, or?
Yeah, I mean it's seasonal. It's the Yukon, so I think for this year we'll be building our camps in May, and if we can drill in May, we'll drill in May. If not, it'll be June.
Okay.
But you'll see news from us, like the permitting news. You'll see us contracting drill companies. There's a lot of build up to that.
Okay. Ja, erste Intro zu Yukon Metals. Also wie gesagt, ich bin ja Aktionär dort. Ich bin über diese Placement reingekommen, 30 Cent, 45 Cent. Mein Einstand ist irgendwo bei 37,5. Hier haben wir den Chart auch noch. Natürlich hat der Markt gleich durchgedreht am Anfang. Ist klar, das war ja die Sister Company von Snowline. Der Markt ist über auf $1 aufgestiegen. Die Aktien sind dann im September ungefähr frei geworden. Da hat es natürlich dann gleich wieder genug Leute gegeben, die verkauft haben. Ich nicht, muss ich dazu sagen. Und sie sind dann mit den Ergebnissen, die sie gehabt haben, nach oben gegangen. So, dann machen wir jetzt kurz einmal einfach mal sagen, was sie hat. Sie haben 17 Projekte, wenn ich mich richtig erinnere, die sie quasi hier reingenommen haben in diese Company, die eben, wie gesagt, von denselben Leuten gekommen sind, die auch Snowline gefunden haben. Das waren allerdings eher die Base Metals, oder das war die Idee, dass das alles die Base Metals sind. Jetzt hat sich allerdings mehr herausgestellt, dass die Ergebnisse teilweise sehr, sehr gute Gold- und Silberergebnisse, also Edelmetalle waren, also nicht Base Metals, sondern Edelmetalle. Und da kommen wir jetzt gleich einmal zu diesen 2 Projekte, beziehungsweise 3 Projekte. Das eine ist Birch, das andere ist Star River. Gestern war eine Pressemeldung von Star River und da war es so, dass sie extrem interessante Rock Samples gehabt haben. Also wie heißt das auf Deutsch? Also Steine, die sie gefunden haben, quasi, die sie aufgeschrieben haben, die sehr, sehr gute Gehalte gehabt haben. Teilweise 101 Gramm pro Tonne Gold. Also das ist wirklich sehr, sehr gut. Sie haben sehr viele Ergebnisse über 1000 Gramm gehabt, 1600 Gramm Silber, muss man auch dazu sagen, 1500 Gramm Silber, 1400 Gramm Silber und hier wieder 7 Gramm Gold. Alles an der Oberfläche. Das ist, wo er sagt hat, das sind die Outcrops, diese Ausbisse sind dort ersichtlich. Teilweise liegen die Steine herunten, weil es ein fällig ist, aber die kommen von diesen Ausbissen. Und dann haben sie eine Gravity-Anomalie draufgelegt und T-Dem und alle zeigen genau dieselben Indikationen an. Er hat auch deswegen einen schönen schwarzen Pfeil reingemacht und dort werden sie jetzt quasi nächstes Jahr bohren, weil dort alles zusammenkommt. Da sind die Rock Samples da, die Gravity ist dort, es ist alles da und alles zeigt eigentlich dieselben Indikationen an. Und deswegen wird dort nächstes Jahr gebohrt. Sie wollen eine große Konzession, Bohrgenehmigung schon haben, wo sie 50 Leute reinschicken können. Sie sind sehr gut angeschlossen. Es geht eine Straße, eine Allwetterstraße durch. Sehr wichtig, Allwetterstraße, das heißt auch vom Government wird dort die Straße geräumt. Und dadurch kommen sie dort sehr gut hin. Das ist allerdings nicht nur das einzige Gebiet, das da beim Star River drinnen ist, sondern sie haben viele Gebiete. Hier heroben ist auch noch ein sehr großer Cluster, hier 10.000 Gramm Silber, 4.000 Gramm Silber, wo sie quasi alles eigentlich auch wieder mit diesen Gravities und auch mit diesen TTEM-Studien zusammen in Verbindung sind, was sie auch dann quasi wieder auch gefunden haben. Also sehr spannendes Gebiet und es kann sein, dass sie halt dort einmal bohren starten und dann auch gar nicht mehr aufhören. So, das ist Star River. Die Aktie hat eigentlich nicht wirklich reagiert, das habe ich auch gesagt. Gestern ist die News rausgekommen, die Aktie hat nicht wirklich reagiert. Umsatzvolumen ist allerdings relativ gut. Es war gestern, glaube ich, 150, 180.000 Stück Umsatz. Das ist gar nicht so schlecht. So, kommen wir mal jetzt zurück zur Präsentation. Kommen wir zu Birch. Das ist das zweite Projekt. Das ist eigentlich ein Gebiet, wo sehr hochgradige Goldvorkommen entdeckt worden sind. Also Showings gezeigt haben. Und das ist früher interpretiert worden als ein epithermales Goldfeld. Mit den jetzigen Daten, was sie haben, schaut es allerdings aus, dass es ein Porphyry-System ist, ein Kupfer, Molybden, Gold-Porphyry. Weil sie haben alle möglichen Indikationen dort. Und sie haben jetzt ein sehr großes Soil-Sampling-Programm laufen lassen mit den indigenen Völkern, die dort sind, also mit den First Nations, die dort sind, die arbeiten auch für denen. Es ist auch extrem wichtig, dass wir ein gutes Verhältnis haben. Sie haben dort eine sehr, sehr gute Soil Sampling gemacht, nicht an der Oberfläche ganz, sondern sie haben zuerst einmal einen Meter runtergebohrt und haben dort das Soil Sampling genommen und dadurch haben sie eine ganz andere Qualität das Ergebnis aus, wie wenn man es an der Oberfläche nimmt. Und das ist quasi die Ergebnis. Was dort jetzt allerdings noch abgeht, ist eine IP-Studie, die geht noch ab, die werden sie in den nächsten Tagen, Wochen, Monaten veröffentlichen und dann haben sie quasi zwei Projekte, die extrem gute Targets haben. Bei dem einen haben wir natürlich bei Star River mehr Gold und Silber. Klar, auch wenn es sehr viele andere Showings auch gibt, aber mehr Gold und Silber, die natürlich möglicherweise den Markt begeistert, weil halt Gold und Silber da ist. Bei dem anderen haben es Gold, Kupfer und Molybden und beide sollen nächstes Jahr gebohrt werden. Und dann haben sie noch AZ, machen wir auch noch gleich. AZ ist, warum AZ auch? Weil die Familie, die das ganze Projekt zusammengetragen haben, gesagt, das Projekt ist so groß und da finden sie alle Metalle. Spannend hat er mal gesagt, deswegen vom A bis Z haben sie alle Metalle drinnen. Wichtig ist, man sieht hier, dass da nichts wächst. Und so hoch ist dort der Metallgehalt, dass dort quasi keine Vegetation möglich ist. Das habe ich schon mal bei einer anderen Firma gehabt, die haben das Projekt eigentlich gefunden, indem sie mit dem Helikopter drüber geflogen sind und gesagt, hey, warum wächst da hier nichts? Haben die dann Proben genommen, haben gesagt, dort ist ein extrem hoher Nickelgehalt gewesen damals und deswegen war das auf einmal eine Nickelmine, die jetzt auch noch produziert und dort auch schön Nickel abgebaut wird. Dieses Projekt, das AZ, ist nur 6 Kilometer vom Alaska Highway entfernt und kann sehr leicht erreicht werden. Das haben wir jetzt auch schon, wir sind ja im Yukon, da haben wir auch das Thema immer, Yukon könnte auch sehr teuer sein, weil man muss möglicherweise mit dem Helikopter reinfliegen. Also Star River, wie schon vorher gesagt, ist erreichbar über eine Straße, Allwetterroad, dort können Sie auch theoretisch wirklich rund ums Jahr produzieren, also auch theoretisch bohren, aber das machen sie nicht, weil es im Winter sehr viel teurer ist als wie im Sommer. Nächstes Jahr soll es losgehen, die machen, wie gesagt, der große Permitting soll gemacht werden und dann soll quasi ab Mai, Juni, je nachdem wie die Wetterbedingungen sind, gebohrt werden. Birch selbe, da müssen sie aber mit dem Helikopter hinfliegen, deswegen dort ein kleineres Bohrgerät, weil es ist natürlich mit dem Helikopter ist ein bisschen teurer. AZ werden sie nächstes Jahr weiterentwickeln, dass sie dort wahrscheinlich auch bohren können und dort können sie allerdings dann auch wieder mit Heavy Equipment reinfahren, weil das natürlich ein ganz anderes Thema ist, weil dort auch die Straßen dementsprechend sind. sehr viele Sachen, was zusammenkommt, sehr positive Sachen. Erstens einmal Judikatur. Wir sind in Kanada. Kanada wird extrem wichtig sein. Ich habe es auch vorher kurz einmal angesprochen. Vielleicht haben Sie es gestern noch nicht mitbekommen. Ich habe es auch heute erst quasi bekommen. China hat ja zum Beispiel, also der Handelskrieg beginnt schon, wie ich Ihnen damals gesagt habe. Ich befürchte, dass, wenn der Handelskrieg kommt, dass dann dementsprechend die Länder damit den Zugang der westlichen Welt zu diesen Metallen einschränkt. Das passiert jetzt schon, das geht jetzt schon los. China hat jetzt schon USA Sanktionen verhängt in diese Richtung. Und ja, das ist deswegen wichtig, wo liegen die Metalle in Zukunft. Das ist extrem wichtig. Und genau das ist es natürlich. Judikatur ist super. Kanada ist natürlich auch gut. Yukon ist sehr gut, weil natürlich auch Bevölkerung ist überschaubar und es ist ein Mining Country. Im Prinzip gibt es dort nicht wirklich was anderes. One last question. Is there any other industry in the Yukon beside the resource industry?
It's the biggest. I mean, I think that's been understood is just how important it is to that area. It's I think it's the fastest growing area in Canada, and since I've been there a couple times as a kid, and it is changed. It's like it's kind of the expression. It's a boom town, almost like an oil town. There's like fine restaurants there now, and right, like the fusion bars and all of these things that they because of this kind of boom town now. So I think we had this time after the Victoria Gold incident where there was a bit of concern. I think we're past that now. I think certainly the Yukon government understands how important resource industry and mining is to the Yukon.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, Yukon is a Victoria Gold. It's not really close to you, but it is also in the Yukon. But from my understanding, okay, Victoria Gold is done, but what's really happened there? I saw some, okay, a few fish are dying on them, but not more. So
Yeah, I mean it's very unfortunate what happened, and I mean I think unfortunately Victoria Gold is no longer exists. But even we have like you said, we have one asset of the 17 that we had in the same territory as Victoria Gold, and so there's many different First Nations, many different communities. The big place, like you said. And even that one asset that we had it was probably 7th or 8th on our priority list. When we talked to them about permitting, and they said, look, we have our hands full right now working with Victoria Gold. Come back another time, right? Like they do it. And so we moved on. We focused on the assets that we've already talked about. But while we were in Germany with you, they came back to us, the NND First Nation, and said, "Okay, we're ready to accept permitting requests now." So it's come back probably far quicker than anyone would have thought, and we've had a very good working relationship with all of the First Nations.
Okay, I have here also the shareholder structure of your company. 89 million shares outstanding. Keith Neumeyer has still 9%. Great. Crescat has also 3. So it looks like that you're inside of 31%. So it's very tight structure, I must say.
Yeah, so it's a bit Canadian centric, right? And that's why it was great to get out to Germany, right? And we were in London, but yeah, as a new company, most of the shareholders have been Canadian. So Keith Neumeyer's a major shareholders. The Birdalls are our biggest shareholders, right? And to my knowledge, they haven't sold a share of Snowline in 3 years, and I don't expect they'll sell any of our shares. So we have a very good, strong shareholder base.
Perfect. I think it's also important. Then for sure we know exploration is very important, but it's also cost a lot of money. and this is part of the game. But as we saw by Snowline, you get a great reward when you have the results, and you are be in the right place. That's also very important, that you be in the right place.
Exactly. So we spent about $2 million in the field last year, and I think we'll spend more this year, but we're in the good place of having $8.5-9 million in the bank. And like as you can see from my surroundings here, I'm not in a big fancy office downtown, so we're not spending a lot of money. All the money we're spending and investing is in the ground. Right. So
that's good. Rory, thank you for the first introduction. Hopefully we get more information, or maybe we do a new update when you're coming up with the first results, maybe, or we do it before, maybe when you start drilling or something. Then I think really next year can be hopefully the big breakthrough. Especially with my thinking that resource are really now the favorite stocks for also the global asset allocation for over the next few years. And then without resource, nothing is working. No computer, no handy is without resource. Is not running without resource. Thank you. Good luck.
Yeah.
And we will see us maybe in January when I come over to Vancouver.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Tschüss.
See you.